Okay, I feel like the message that I'm getting is like there's someone who's been going through an ego death. With the first couple cards that came out is the Emperor, the King of Swords in reverse, the Eight of Swords, and the Empress in reverse. And I feel like this like truly represents like an ego death where like you've been on this, and I'm definitely talking to someone who's been on the spiritual journey or been on a journey of self improvement, or like however that shows up in your life. But there's this like something has shaken the foundation where it's like it's put you back in like this like maybe fear state or this negative self-talk or maybe a victim mentality, and it's not even something that's conscious. I feel like that's what the ego death represents, is it's like kind of bringing up the subconscious ways of where your ego is getting in the way of your ambitions. And it's information, so it's not necessarily anything that's kind of like taking you a step back. It's just bringing awareness. And I feel like you've kind of gotten that aha moment of like maybe that there's situations that you have been in recently where like you've gotten really good about showing up in who you are and not letting anybody shake your foundations, but all of a sudden you're responding in ways that maybe represent like maybe an old version of yourself where it's kind of like it triggered and you fired off instead of being able to like take a step back and approach the situation with confidence and compassion and having everybody's best interest at heart. But it feels like that this was a not necessarily a back step. It was just a step that made you see what was made the unconscious conscious. That like some of these triggers are still there. Like some of these people still do have the ability to some of the, my dog's always in the video. Some of these people still have the ability to trigger you in ways you thought were healed. So it's kind of like giving you this invitation to understand that these subconscious patterns still are there, maybe not as deeply rooted as they used to be, but your response and the way that you showed up in these situations were very like shocking to your own self. You're like, oh my God, did that just come out of my mouth? Or oh my God, did I handle that situation in the way that I thought I didn't handle it in the way I should have. So like being aware of these things is exactly what an ego death is supposed to do. So I think that with the next two cards, the Ace of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles is like a representation of like, yeah, you're aware of like how you didn't show up in the way that you want to show up in all situations, but there's also this component of like sometimes it's okay to pause your healing journey to remind a bitch why you started it in the first place, but also like it's like that vibe of being able to rein it back in. It's like, oh, okay, that's still there, let me deal with that, like let me kind of go back, make amends, and be like, oh, I shouldn't have handled it this way. But like it's this awareness of how you need to heal a certain part of yourself, or how there's still lingering remnants of like either traumatic situations or things that you thought you had already resolved. So at the Ace of Cups and the King of Pentacles, it's like, oh, okay, you've brought in love to this piece of yourself. You've gotten to a reminder of like how you truly do have the capacity to show up in with a loving heart in all situations, but you're also human, and that's okay. So it's like it's easier to get back on the horse with the Knight of Pentacles, and like if you've already been on this journey, it's when you take a step back, it's easier to take 2 to 3 steps further than you took before, if that makes sense. And 333 on my timer as I say that. So what else can we receive for this message? Oh yeah, so then we have the Hangman. Like again, it's like taking that pause, going back and being like, oh, okay, like let's reanalyze the situation. How could I have actually, what part of the situation can I take accountability for, regardless of what the other person or how the other person showed up is kind of like none of your concern. Your concern is how you control your own behavior and how you can control how you show up at all times, setting your boundaries very clear, and then walking away instead of it being an explosive situation, like you know how to, you know better kind of situation. And I think it's like brought that to your awareness of where it's a piece of you that still needs to be looked at. There's always room for improvement, and like ego deaths for sure bring up that awareness. Then we have the Lovers card here, which like again for me, when I read this always brings up like the two sides of ourself or alignment within ourself in order to kind of bring like redirect ourself into wholeness. Like both sides of our masculine and feminine need to be aligned in order to show up in authentically and wholly of who we are. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, which is like, because we're capable of doing that, that's where our security, our financial, like, where we, it does represent financial wealth for sure, but it's like the path to financial wealth. It's kind of like aligning us back to, when we're in alignment with our goals. We're in alignment to receive our abundance. And then we have the Five of Swords, which is like, we're gonna be tested in these like situations, and conflict will always arise, but what we do have control over is how we show up. 555 on the timer is how we show up in these situations is going to dictate where our true intentions are being able to be brought forth into a situation where we can be the mirror for someone else, in these situations of when people decide to act and behave one way. Like, it doesn't have to shake our core foundations. We can remain whole and calm within that center of the storm, which is a direct reflection of them. Because if you're not behaving the way that they are trying to trigger you into behaving, or ways that you've shown up before, then it is going to reflect their behavior back to them, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then we have the Nine of Cups. Like, this is almost like, it gives me this vibes of, like, it fills all of your cups up to kind of go through this process and know that, like, you're capable of not allowing anyone to shake your foundation. It's like, you've worked on this for so long to be so emotionally stable that, like, even the slightest misstep, even the slightest, like, sharp tongue, even the slightest, like, way that, like, maybe you've shown up in a situation that wasn't you, that wasn't aligned with you, you were able to kind of course correct very quickly, which is a superpower, because that's bringing love and light into the world, because it doesn't matter how everybody else around you behaves. It's the fact that you're capable of being a direct mirror to them. And I think that's, like, kind of your job. Yeah, like Ace of Wands. This is your job in this lifetime, amongst many other jobs, I'm sure. But, like, you're like a walking tower moment. Like, because you've been able to build your foundation so emotionally stable and strong, and, like, from a place of authenticity and wholeness, that, like, either you're going to repel people or you're going to attract people. And in the moments that you repel people and they start to behave differently, that's whenever you're kind of tested on whether or not you're going to be able to show up in a more loving and authentic way. And, like, you don't shake me. You're not going to rock the foundation I've created. And with the King of Wands, that's because you're a natural leader. Like, that is exactly, you have walked away from way too much to allow some stranger, some one-off interaction, someone who does not mean to you what the rest of the people in the world mean to you, to shake your foundation. So keep at it, keep going. Like, this is exactly what that needs to happen with the Death card. It's the ego death. It's like, it's just forging you into more of who you are. Let it happen and let it, like, surrender to it. Good luck.